just one giant gearbox driven by one little motor.
Parts.
This spins like this.
And pieces.
A piece of my home was already here.
Pieces and parts. Springs, sensors.
This is the rake cam.
Not really sure what that exactly is, but I do know that in just the right order,
This is true divine order.
with just the right timing,
These pins will fall,
it just works.
so the ball hits it. Started here when I was 12, working 5 nights a week until 10 o'clock at night, sitting in the back doing my homework and working on bowling machines.
John Noland now owns this bowling center with his ex-wife, Michelle.
I'll do some end pieces for them.
She still makes rolls from scratch to serve in the snack bar to go with meals that look like family dinner, because for years, that's what it was for the Nolands.
You got to keep the tradition alive.
The last few years have been brutal on bowling centers.
It was tough for Hurricane Lanes to stay alive, to pay the bills.
Hurricane Lanes in central Wyoming, in a small town called Worland.
It's colder than hell up here, and I thought, what a perfect name.
Little did he know how profound that name would be. Hurricane Lanes will never experience the devastation of a hurricane.
Can you imagine it one day just being gone? One day it's here, one day it's just gone.
I would wander around here empty for some time. Even though I have another job, we have 7 kids, but this defines me.
I couldn't believe.
Way down in Homa, that's exactly what happened to Marie Lirette. When Hurricane Ida tore her bowling center, Bowl South of Louisiana, to shreds.
That's a hard thing because after 40-something years of doing it, you know, your feet get knocked out from under you, wondering what's next.
She worked there since 1976, later bought it and grew the bowling center with her husband, Terry. For decades, if balls were rolling, pins were dropping, music playing, Marie was there. While Terry passed away a few years ago, the home away from home they shared was gone.
Felt like that was a piece of my soul.
The empty and the quiet's got to be a hole that's hard to fill.
It's making you tear up now.
Yeah.
Because you know what those memories are and you know what that means.
If somebody tomorrow said this is over, all I could say is, oh my God. Michelle and I have been through all kinds of adversities and everything else. We've tackled the world, basically. And we've done it through the glue from the Bolin family here.
She couldn't afford to rebuild. Her business was gone. And the pieces of the life she knew were piled in boxes.
What am I supposed to do now? And I couldn't answer that.
You said you haven't bowled in over a year, almost. Why not?
Well,
You just thought it would be too painful to do it?
yeah, and then knowing that I wasn't home doing it.
She wouldn't just let it go. When underneath all that rubble, she knew there were pieces of Bowl South that had life left in them. She posted the parts in a Facebook group to see if anyone wanted them, and bowling centers across the country sure did. Bowl South's loss would give new life to 8 bowling centers across the country.
To be honest, I didn't know what I was getting into until I got there and saw that it had been wrecked by a hurricane.
Joseph Bryant manages a faith-based rec center in Kentucky. They got 12 of Bowl South's bumpers.
To even get the bumpers like that secondhand would be a large expense that we probably wouldn't have been able to afford otherwise. When I met Marie, I could just tell that she was heartbroken about business that she had, I guess, devoted her life to. I knew that taking the bumpers, that was basically taking, I guess, a little bit of her.
Marie's oil machine helped revive and reopen a historic Black-owned bowling alley in Cleveland, and on and on and on.
Devastating loss for Maria, right? Maria lost, I can't even fathom, okay? And the best thing that happened to this business, it's growing because of what I'm standing on.
Hurricane Lanes jumped at Bowl South's hurricane-tested lanes. Ida hit on August 29th, and just before Halloween, John and 4 others from his bowling family hopped in a truck to drive down to pick the lanes up. They had no idea what they were about to experience, and frankly, neither did Marie.
All of our eyes were like totally, oh my God. I mean, it was crazy, the devastation. That's something until you've been there, you can't imagine it.
They drove 36 hours straight, 1,707 miles, and had to sleep in their trailer because there were no hotel rooms.
What did you think when you first saw Bowl South?
I wanted to cry. Bowling's been in my blood since I was a little kid. We were probably silent for the first hour we were there to try to absorb what devastation was there.
Marie had the same reaction when she saw it for the first time.
Is this what I'm seeing? Like, is this real?
When we found out that Hurricane Ida sent a piece of Homa to a place this opposite from there, we wanted to come find out what it meant to the community here. And when we told Marie that we were going to make the trip, she said she wanted to come too.
Hello?
Marie? Hey, it's Katie.
Hi, Katie.
As we drove through the rolling hills on our way to Hurricane Lanes, I called Marie.
I would have never dreamed I would have done anything like this.
It was Marie's first time in an airplane in 30 years.
Just a moment in that airplane looking at those mountains, I got extremely emotional.
Okay. You ready? I'm ready.
I just felt a part of me I was coming home to something. That's how I felt, that a piece of my home was already here.
I'm home. Oh my God. I gotta hug you.
Get over here.
Oh, it's so good to see you.
Oh, it's awesome to see you too.
Oh,
Thank you.
I'm so happy to be here. Oh, it's like my soul is here. I feel it.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, this is incredible.
Moments of pure joy. Marie says she chose out of pure sadness.
There's no crying in bowling. Oh, that's so good to meet you. That's so good to meet you.
A choice that led to lifelong connections 1,700 miles apart.
Oh my goodness. I just can't believe I'm here. I just can't believe I actually did this. This is so exciting. This is so exciting.
You ready to bowl?
Marie hadn't bowled in a year,
I need house shoes and I need a house ball. Yes.
and it was time to do it again
This one might work. Let's see.
on her lanes.
I can't be here and not at least try to throw a few balls on my favorite pair.
M-A-R-I-E, right?
Yep. Oh, I just want to stand up and get through it, but I have to do it. Wait. I promise the next shot I'm going to keep it on the lane.
A hurricane changed
Pick it up.
pieces of her life, and she changed a part of his.
Nice shot, John. Awesome.
If you put it all back together, maybe some of that magic's still there.
They're pieces and parts of life that come together and just work.
It's like divine intervention.
Like this night, this trip,
Oh, I love it. I got to catch my breath.
bowling for the first time on her lanes in over a year.
So excited that I got that push that I'm here.
A new piece of life begins
So are we.
Oh my God.
because Marie refused to let another part be the end.
I'm so grateful. You have no idea.
Please have your bags and stuff ready. Get ready before you go through the metal detector.
We're the crazy people that run in.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh, good to see you.
Bum, 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 bum.
Woo-hoo, here we go.
Okay, we're going. It's the eye of the tiger. It's the thrill of the Keep it up, keep it up.
Oh, we're like mega super fans.
Jazz Fest for us. Like it's a whole culture, like
it's the tradition of it.
Like people come.
We've had generations of Jazz Fest.
You feel like you're in the center of the universe.
There are a lot of friends that I connect with throughout the year, but in Jazz Fest, it's spending 6 or 7 days with them.
But what I've learned about New Orleans, if it doesn't hurt a little bit, like you're probably not doing it right.
Like it's community and it's neighborhood, and we haven't been who we are, and we're back to being who we are, I think.
What's happened in the past couple of years. We've been apart so long, it's giving people an opportunity to connect again.
Pianola is a project that takes donated pianos and refurbishes them into these fantastical art pieces that are then sent out to the public for the public to play.
All of the pianos were donated. We would take every single key out. We would make any repairs that needed to be done on the piano.
I painted the Mahalia piano. It's called Mahalia Jackson, Mother of Peace.
Our intentions and our hope was for people to come together. We imagined couples sitting down at the piano and just being like, I didn't know you played, babe.
We have many people playing it all the time.
Like there was a church group in here the very first day that we put it in. My children have been practicing their piano out here in the evenings.
Sometimes I'll come here during the afternoon and people will be playing it. You know, it's so cool.
It keeps on giving, and I think that's the magic of the piano and what it represents in our culture. It's always brought people together.
So we have a couple of different things today. How you guys doing? We have some fried redfish, some baked redfish. Food is that language that we kind of all speak. Hey, how's it going, man? Let's do it, brother. There's a lot of love in those beans, man. And I kind of give you that funky flavor. My grandmother actually taught me how to cook red beans. You had to have cornbread. She would tell me, hey, Mike, stir the pot, add some seasoning, taste it for me. I know you were coming, brother. Food wasn't just something we did. Food was talked about, it was shared, recipes were shared, so it was something that's part of our family.
Chef O rocks.
This is what we do. Red beans and rice, man. Anybody want some more? Line up. I don't have a lot of money, but when I cook these meals, whatever I have left, I'll make them in a place and pass them out to the homeless. That's how I kind of started feeding the homeless. All right, so my name's Orlando Brown. We're originally from Uptown. My mom's name is Patricia Brown. She had 21 kids. Out of 21, there's 3 under me. So there's 3 under me. These brief moments where I remember we had a bunk bed and we had like 4 at the top and like 4 at the bottom. And then we had like a pallet on the floor and there was some over here. And then I remember like my mom just trying her best to get us whatever she could. She struggled with us for a long time. And I know that one of the main things she struggled with was food, being able to feed us. I think for my mom, it got kind of overwhelming. This lady had 21 kids. So she struggled to take care of us. So I was adopted when I was like 3 or 4. I was adopted. I don't remember the whole process, but I do remember somebody taking me away. And then I remember, you know, growing up in this other place. And my adopted parents raised me real well and graduated from Destrehan in '99. I wanted to be a chef because I love food. But I never wanted to be hungry. You're gonna love this po' boy. We're gonna stuff it up real good, bro. I figured that food would be the thing that I would be good at, and then I could take that anywhere. Cajun string beans, some fried chicken, dinner rolls. You ready? Y'all ready? Let's go. I was looking at the situation in the city, and I'm like, man, what could I do? God bless you. And I know I didn't have the money to go buy everything these people needed, but I'm like, you know something? I could cook. So I started cooking a few meals and passing them out. And then a few meals turned to 50, 100 plates. God bless you. It's a community effort. It's a community problem. So I think if we want to fix anything that's going on in the city, we want to fix anything that's going on in our community, we got to get the community involved. Sorry that took so long, you guys. You guys are going to enjoy it, man.
No worries. We got nowhere to be.
Awesome, man. I wanted to be a chef because I love food, but I never wanted to be hungry. And I always wanted to know, I figured that food would be the thing that I would be good at, and then I could take that anywhere. I've always wanted to be this famous chef that traveled the world and made all this great food. Now, today, I want to be a chef that's known for great food, but I also want to be someone that's known for getting the community and young people involved in culinary. And then make a footprint, make a positive note in New Orleans.
For Nadia Sanchez,
this is as official as I get.
Red beans aren't just for Mondays.
I think it helps us feel like we're still connected to her in some way.
They're for memories.
I do it in crock pots. I know this is not the traditional way, but this is the way that she taught me to do it.
She has a cabinet full of crock pots.
And she walked me through how to do it. She's like, you put this much water over the beans.
And a recipe that's forgiving.
I'm not gonna add the sausage until the very end though.
Her recipe passed down by her mom, Jeannot Plessy, who knew a thing or two about forgiveness. She was a pastor. On November 28th, 2018,
it's unbelievable.
She was carjacked and killed in Gentilly while picking her other kids up at Nadia's house.
I'm speechless.
It wasn't just the car that they ended up with.
Yeah, no, it was her whole future.
You may have heard Jeannot Plessy's story before, killed when carjackers hit her with the very car they were stealing. But even if you did, it wasn't over.
My mom and I have been through a lifetime of things together.
This year, this story turned even more tragic, leaving two mothers, Nadia Sanchez and Sharina Robinson, with grief that both divides them and unites them.
You have the right to remain silent.
17-year-old Jontrell Robinson, his younger brother, 15-year-old Bo Avanti, and their cousin, 18-year-old Edwin Cottrell, would all plead guilty to playing a part in Plessy's murder.
I thought you could give me a call.
This is a video of Jontrell's interview with police.
Mistake.
A mistake. That's what Jontrell tells police over and over again.
A mistake. A mistake.
He says he meant to take Plessy's car, not hurt her.
Our condolences to the family. Our condolences. I feel bad for that lady, and I hope to God that the family could forgive this whole situation.
Jontrell gave police this reason for why they wanted to steal cars.
Us young boys get the car because we like driving. Okay. Yeah, we know it's bad, but at the same time, we just want to drive. We'll go to jail, we'll serve some time, but we'll just come back out.
As much as you want to alleviate some of your guilt by using the word mistake, it was a bad choice.
Nadia Sanchez wrote those words in her victim impact statement and read them aloud in court the day Jontrell was sentenced to 30 years in prison.
Here I stand before you today.
At times, Nadia spoke directly to Sharina.
As much as I hold you responsible for the actions your sons took, I think back to the Friday before my mom died. We were out shopping and had a conversation about anger and forgiveness. We talked about how meaningless it is to hold on to anger. It doesn't change a situation. It doesn't add to your life. It just brings bitterness.
I called and spoke with Sharina Robinson and asked her for an interview for this story to find out more about her sons and to get her perspective on it. She said it was too hard to talk about, and she referred me to Ernest Johnson, the executive director of an organization called Ubuntu Village.
She made note of allowing me to talk about this case, that she sympathizes and has remorse beyond anyone's imagination about what happened to the victim and what has happened to her kids in this particular case.
Ubuntu works with mothers and families caught up in the juvenile justice system. Johnson says Sharina meets regularly with other mothers in a support group to both help them and to get help herself. Jontrell and Sharina wrote these letters of apology to the Plessys as part of the court process. Quote, Every night I try to fall asleep, I think about this and your family, Jontrell writes. I'm sorry for what I had did. Sharina apologized for the pain her family caused theirs and said Boavanti was depressed but making progress, going to counseling, getting good grades, obeying curfews.
He didn't have this mindset of just going carjacking, breaking cars. He was doing some of the things that was necessary for him to reach his full potential.
Boavanti had gone to juvenile jail and was on parole. He was working on an art exhibit at Tulane, dreamed of becoming a rapper. He had another chance.
All I can remember is getting a phone call in the middle of the night.
They just had a bad accident right here.
And her crying about a situation.
Ma'am, please get right out here.
It happened 2 blocks away from her home, 1 week before he was supposed to graduate from high school.
After midnight on May 3rd, on a Tuesday morning, Sharina got the knock at the door that every parent dreads.
Another wreck, the car's in the middle of the street.
Boavanti had been killed in a car crash.
Just get somebody out here.
He was ejected from this Honda.
In the middle of the street.
Just like the night Jontrell killed Plessy, Boavanti was in a stolen car when he died.
That moment changed everything.
His decision to get into that car.
His decision to get in that car changed everything at that moment.
Boavanti's funeral the day before his graduation. His senior picture placed on the closed casket. Sharina crossed the stage, accepting his diploma for him.
She broke down after. It was just hard because she believed that he would have the opportunity to walk across the stage and she wouldn't have to do it.
It's ironic, but I don't find any comfort or peace in that ending for him. I wish things would have been different for him.
To have one son to receive a diploma but yet has a 30-year sentence, and have another son to receive a diploma but never get an opportunity to enjoy it.
It's clear the time since Jeannot Plessy's murder has been brutal on everyone involved.
It's really hard to witness what we witnessed and experience what we experienced and then be told, like, some people might sympathize more with the defendants than with what you're saying. And for that reason, maybe you shouldn't go to trial.
That had to be a punch to the gut.
Yes. Yeah, it was hard. And honestly, a lot of the work that I do was kind of born from that experience.
That's where the red beans come in.
So she served red beans as a way to connect with the community. And so my family and I picked that up after she died as a way to connect with her, really, and to feel like we were carrying on her legacy.
But she wanted to do more.
Oh my gosh, yes, please, help yourself.
So she started a nonprofit called Love Your Neighbor NOLA.
Yeah, it's a sick.
Every other weekend in New Orleans East.
You have your hands full.
She works to get moms the help they need.
Clothes, shoes.
Before they end up in the system.
I don't think the criminal justice system is where we have a hard stop and say, well, this person had a really hard life, and so we don't think that they should serve this sentence because of that.
The mercy needs to come long before the crime.
Yes. Yes.
Nadia is hoping every little thing adds up to something bigger. While their bind is as strong, often as painful as barbed wire, they're really wrapped around the same goal like a knot. Nadia, with Love Your Neighbor on the front end.
I think everyone in the city just feels like hopeless and helpless and like, what are we supposed to do? How do you end this cycle? I start at the beginning.
Sharina and Mbutu Village on the back.
And try to give back through empathy or sympathy or any way you can to humanity and making people whole because, we're all on a journey.
Both wanting to keep others from getting tangled up in crime. Katie Moore, Eyewitness News. We've spent a lot of time over the past 2 years talking about potential dangers that you cannot see. And this time, we're talking about what's inside the ceilings, the walls, and the floors. Not just in any building, but inside the New Orleans' new billion-dollar airport.
Still have to navigate. New Orleans is leading the way as we always do.
Small containers of 3.4 ounces or less.
Sources close to the project who asked not to be identified say the construction process hit some turbulence, leaving a question mark about some fire safeguards at MSY. The airport says the city of Kenner and the state fire marshal signed off on the building, and it's safe. But these construction documents indicate our sources weren't the only ones concerned about it. Let me explain.
1, 2, 3. Louis Armstrong. We have a world-class airport.
The terminal was initially scheduled to be completed by May 2018, and it missed 4 opening dates.
As the terminal went up, the work had to pass a number of inspections along the way to make sure it met the requirements of Louisiana's Uniform Construction Code and Fire Code.
All the bathrooms work.
While New Orleans owns the building, it's located in Kenner.
This is in my backyard, and it has to make the city of Kenner shine.
So Kenner's chief building official, James Muhammad, had to sign off when he thought the construction was done well enough to ensure the building is safe. He's important. We'll come back to him in a minute. But first,
fill you in on who all the major players are.
The New Orleans Aviation Board hired a group of companies, a joint venture called HGBM, to build the new terminal. The Aviation Board also hired engineering firm WSP to manage the project. WSP hired special inspections firm Terracon to double-check the work of HGBM, not just because they felt like it, but because Louisiana's Uniform Construction Code and the International Building Code require those special inspections on big projects like this one. Remember, this story is about whether fire stops and fireproofing were completed and properly inspected during the new MSY construction.
Buildings like the airport are designed to keep fires contained long enough so that people like me can get out safely. Now, here's what I mean by that. Let's say I'm on the 2nd floor of the airport and a fire starts on the 1st floor down below. There are lots of penetrations to the floor, pipes and things that go through it, with spaces around them that, if they're not properly fireproofed or fire sealed, they can act like a superhighway for smoke and flames, possibly trapping me inside. But if those spaces are properly fireproofed and fire sealed, they can hold the fire off long enough that I can get out safely.
When a fire is actively burning, it's going to create a lot of heat and pressure. Even the smallest void that's not protected with proper fire stopping almost acts like a blowtorch. You're going to have really hot flames, gas, and smoke going through that opening under pressure. So it rapidly spreads the fire and smoke beyond that original compartment.
Bruce Johnson is a career fire marshal who works with Underwriters Laboratories. It's one of the largest companies that designs and tests fire stop assemblies like the wrap you see on this pipe. Special inspectors make sure those fire stops are installed properly before the government building inspectors allow the contractor to close the walls, the floors, and the ceilings. In the months before the new MSY opened, the airport's project managers, WSP, raised concerns to the airport with these non-conformance notices, or NCNs, that their special inspectors were finding closed walls around fire stops they were never called to inspect. This NCN says the project managers identified over 200 itemized life safety concerns in the terminal in March of 2019.
You got to remember, at that time, it was a mad scramble. We were trying to get everything done, so everything was going fast and furious. So there were times when there would be some of this fire stopping would be performed. The city of Kenner would be there and do their inspections.
Again, in some cases, Kenner inspectors at Muhammad's direction signed off on work before special life safety inspectors even had the chance to get a look at it. Frank Morris is a consultant who trains inspectors across the region.
What's the risk in the chief building official not enforcing the special inspections requirement?
It's a life and safety issue. I mean, you literally, or you have a major fire in a facility that's built. And if the fire proofing, fire stops have not been properly inspected and designed, then a fire is going to go to the weakest link on a fire-resistant rated wall.
Inspections as well.
Chris Spann represents the airport. He says the airport was okay with Kenner signing off because even though special inspectors were already on the job, they only needed Kenner's okay, Mohammed's okay, to open up the terminal.
There was discussions in the plan specs to have those people on site, but all that was just a means to the end to get the final jurisdictional approval from the city Kenner.
Some of the architects also said, we're signing these closeout letters as of October 31st of 2019, and we still are aware that there are some life safety question marks in this project. What's your level of concern with that, and what happened with those question marks?
So my level of concern with that is zero. The question marks, to my knowledge, were all not because there was an issue, is because we weren't able to certify that there wasn't an issue.
Some of those questions stem from things like this. If you could look down from restaurants on the second floor and follow the drain lines and pipes through the floor down below, you would find the Homeland Security bomb detection equipment that checks the luggage. In the ceiling above it, sources say you would see this: pipe penetrations through a 2-hour fire-rated floor that need special fire stopping. The wrapping on this pipe is a fire stop that was cleared by the fire marshal, Kenner, and special inspectors in another part of the airport. But this penetration in a picture we received last April doesn't have one. It's unclear if there's a fire stop of a different kind above the ceiling.
Have you heard those concerns, and are they still unsealed?
No. I guess, yes, if I've heard those concerns. So before we opened, the concessionaires, it got complicated because the concessionaires came in under their own contractors with their own designs separate from the HCBM contractor. So they were working kind of independently, and so they would come in and do their stuff, and there'd be some penetrations in the floors. And there was probably a time or two when there were some penetrations they made that they, as part of their contract, did not seal up. But before we opened, we had a contract with HCBM to go back in and said, I don't care if it was your work or not, let's go through everything and make sure everything is sealed up. So they came back after the fact and just made sure everything was sealed, even if it was a concessionaire's contractor.
We received these pictures taken in January. You can see what appears to be gaps around the pipes coming from the ceiling. We don't know how many there are. The airport says in many cases, quote, the fireproofing work was done from the top of the floor above and not from the ceiling below. The airport points out Kenner, Mohammed, signed off on the stops, and so did the fire marshal. When it came time to close out the construction, project managers ultimately agreed to close out those non-conformance notices because Kenner had signed off. They did it with a disclaimer. WSP writes that the airport was making progress sealing visible penetrations in September of 2019. Quote, these observations do not represent an inspection because no destructive testing occurred. It is also noted that the areas that have been closed in were not part of these observations. That led some of the designers to end their work on the terminal with an asterisk too. Architect Leo Daly wrote 2 weeks before the opening, quote, Leo Daly is aware of life safety issues which may or may not have been adequately resolved prior to 10/31/2019. Turns out those Kenner inspectors who helped inspect the airport are no longer with the city. One has been fired, and James Mohammed is facing federal charges.
To be honest with you, I don't have an opinion on that. I've got no choice but to have faith in the process and the people in the system at the time.